Well, I just came out from watching the movie Crawl, and the funny thing about it is that today we had a little bit of a rainy day with a lot of rain, and it's a tremendous coincidence that the movie that I just saw, again, Crawl, it is kind of probably one of the most wet films I have seen this year, because the movie had a lot of rain, a lot of water, and well, also from what you can tell, it also had alligators. Sorry, is that I don't have kind of like a clever or a clever way to start out my review of watching Crawl, because while watching the trailer, I only got interested a little bit on the simple premise that it is, but I don't think that it was one of those movies that is gonna be hugely impactful or something that I've been waiting this whole year to finally watch it. But I'm not gonna lie to say that there are some things that actually intrigue me. For example, the movie Crawl is produced. It is directed by Alexandre Aja, a director who had a little bit of up and downs in his cinematography. I mean, he technically, from what I see on my IMDb, he was the producer of Piranha 3D, which was one of those stupid movies, but it was actually really fun to watch. But so just in case, I highly recommend to watch Piranha 3D. It might, your brain cells might gonna drop down, but but it's also worth it. And most of the production is, well, I think that this movie is also is produced by the studios of Sam Raimi, from what I can infer, I'll say. So don't take me seriously on this one. This is kind of like a speculation that I might be right or might be wrong. But I am dragging this thing out, so I'll get to the chase about my opinions about what do I think about the movie Crawl. The Crawl basically it's kind of like a thriller slash animal gone wild movie that kind of like a B plot film. The movie is about this young woman who is a swimmer. Her name is Haley. She's played by Kaya Scodelario, who has a little bit of a kind of like a restrained relationship with her father, who in the past he coached her for swimming. Things happened in the family. They grew up kind of apart, and then after kind of like a swimming session, which I'll go into details later. She finds out that there's a hurricane where the father is living, as well as where their old home is, and well, since he's not returning the call, she goes there to investigate about what happened. And then, well, what she finds is that he is of course in the house in the middle of a terrible hurricane. But the problem is that he is in a crawl space and he's injured. What happened is that he's been injured because on the crawl space somehow two big alligators they got inside, for a long story short, let's say that after certain circumstances, they're trapped in a crawl space with two big alligators, and because of the storm, the crawl space is filling out with water little by little. And of course, it will also be a challenge outside, because you know that when you live in Florida, there's big chances for a swarm of alligators outside the house. So it's up to a father, a daughter, and their dog to survive these man-eating reptiles. And that's basically the summary I can tell you from what the movie is about. So, but the big question is, did I like this movie? Yes, I did like this movie. I'm not gonna praise it, high praise saying that it's the greatest movie of all time, because it isn't. It's just, let's say that this is one of those movies that benefits itself from being very basic, very simple, but at the same time, it does well on the elements that it has. It doesn't technically try to build up a lore like many other kind of movies that they just want to expand a universe. This one is just kind of just a run-of-the-mill character who are just trapped in a crawl space and trying to survive man-eating alligators. But man, that looking at this movie, there's only one thing that I can tell you. This movie probably is gonna make people think twice about living in Florida. Truth to be told, even before watching this movie, I always thought that I didn't want to live in Florida. I mean, why will people want to live in Florida? It's technically a swamp. There's a lot of alligators and the constant hurricanes every single year. I'm sorry for the people from Florida who are living there. I know that you have your reasons. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just kind of like a personal taste that I got. So I apologize to every Floridian dad is living there. Mostly because I do have a relative living there. Besides, you still have your Disney. You have your Disneyland Orlando. Maybe that's a good thing. What am I saying? Let's go up with the acting of this movie. The acting is really solid and it's pretty good. Kaya Scodelario, she plays as the main girl, the main girl named Haley Keller. Who the movie really at the beginning kind of sets up the kind of character that she is. She is a character who she's headstrong, she's a little bit stubborn, and she's trying her hardest to become kind of like a swim professional, but unfortunately, as much as she tries her best, is actually not enough. She even lost her scholarship for that, and because of, and she kind of blames her. She has kind of feel torn between blaming herself and blaming her father for the divorce, for her parents' divorce. And she kind of communicates with her sister who is living in Boston. And well, as you can see also in the beginning at the movie, is that after that despite everything, she kind of gets worried when she finds out that her father is not returning the calls to either her or her sister. Who again, he lives in Florida. And she finds out later that let's say that she goes into this neighborhood in Florida, and despite the warnings of the people that the hurricane is really strong, she decides, nope, I'm not gonna listen to them. She just took another route and she braved the storm in order to find her father. And it was a good thing because after she finds out that he's not at his home, he's actually on the other family home that was for sale, where they live as a family. And she finds the dog, and a cute one. I gotta admit that this dog is pretty cute. I gotta admit. And like I said in the movie, she finds him injured on the crawl space of the old house. And the father, he's played by Barry Pepper. And he also does a kind of like a good job. Also kind of like this strict but loving father, but not exactly kind of strict. He's kind of like the father who he kind of as he made mistakes on in the past. He kind of put a little bit of too much hope on his daughter. Because it is shown that he was technically his swimming coach, her swimming coach. And in a way, this kind of make kind of like a bond between them, but somehow time kind of separated them, and it kind of like it kind of make kind of like a string of events. And what a way to have kind of like a dangerous situation to reconnect and bond themselves, and braving a lot of the dangers. Like for example, when I saw this movie, this kind of I gotta admit that, you know what, I'll tell you later about some of the fears that this movie can give you. But basically, what I'm telling you that these two characters, these two characters are really, really good. I'll say, most of their character development is mostly told by dialogue. I mean, sometimes you get a little bit of flashbacks, but the movie gives you kind of like the pieces to kind of understand what they're going through and how they have to team up. Especially considering that they have to use their wits, because during the whole course of the movie they get injured really, really bad during the course of the movie. I'm serious. And when I get to the facts about it, I'll tell you about it. And it's showcasing that even those characters has their strengths and weaknesses. I mean, the father is wise, but because of he has much terrible injuries than the daughter, he has physical limitations. While the daughter, she has the swimming abilities, and it's up to her father to motivate her to believe in herself. And of course, we got also the dog, who is kind of like the search party. And well, that's basically what we are going to talk about, our three main leads. Although there are other people in the movie that were mostly used kind of like just as meat fodder for the alligators. And speaking of alligators, oh man, these alligators are huge, let me tell you. They're CG. I don't know if all of these alligators are CGI, because I doubt that they're gonna use a real alligator for this one. But man, that I can't believe that alligators are that big. Because let me tell you guys, I do remember that I 2 years ago I went to Fort Worth, Texas. There was this tank, there was this alligator tank, and it was kind of near ground level where I can see it. I can see it closely. Of course, it has the glass wall to keep you safe. There was this alligator. He was huge, let me tell you. It was kind of half in height. I'll say that it was half kind of like the size of my legs. But how large they are is large, let me tell you. These alligators are no joke. And the way they kill the people in the movie is horrible, let me tell you. Again, alligators are no joke. They are probably one of the most deadly creatures in the world. Although, it's not exactly that I fear them. I kind of prefer alligators better than snakes. Okay, that's technically my little random thought about alligators. But, yep, these alligators, they're technically kind of like the movie's version of Jaws, let's say. I also want to say that one of the movie's biggest strengths also is a little bit the pacing of its cinematography. I'm not gonna. This movie is actually kind of like a short sit. It's not gonna last 3 hours. This is technically this movie is actually have the regular time, the regular basic. What was it? Time length. It only lasts an hour and a half. So it's kind of like a quick sit. But the movie is simple enough to let you follow the adventure kind of closely, and also it is thrilling. I gotta admit, the thrills it is great. It keeps you on the edge of the seat because when you begin to know the character, you want the character to survive, even the dog, of course, and it's a good thing because nowadays, how many movies have I seen this year in mostly in horror or thriller movies in which the pet dies? And luckily this movie breaks kind of like that trope. There are a few jump scares here and there, but the good thing is that they are earned. There is one that actually was kind of like a false one, but it's a false one that it also felt earned. I'm gonna spoil it a little bit by saying that it has to do with a tree smashing the window. Because yeah, when you're in a hurricane, there's a big chance that a branch just flies out and smash the window, or sometimes when an alligator just comes out of nowhere. And believe it or not, that's how alligators hunt their prey. Alligators, they kind of hide in the water, and when the time is right, yeah. So I never been. Sorry, is that I never went to Florida. I'm kind of curious about how people deal with these, but I know that they have kind of like a hard time. I am also kind of aware that alligators have tough skin, so you can see that even in the movie they have a hard time killing these things. It's their skin is so tough that no matter how much you can smack their head with a screwdriver, they don't die. If I'm wrong, let me know. Even I would like to know what the people should do in case they have an alligator encounter. What else I can talk about? What else I can talk about the movie? Well, I did say about the thrills. I did say that the movie it has a lot of water, and also, oh yeah. I gotta admit also that the movie is not exactly gory, so it's kind of a little bit safe to watch. But it does showcase a lot of injuries that can happen in this situation. There are, like for example, there are some scenes in which you can. I think there was a moment where you can see a broken bone, that you can see the bone kind of going out, out of the skin, and the character had to deal with, kind of trying to make their first aids in order to keep advancing. People get bitten, they get torn apart by the alligators. But also, if I have to nitpick, one thing about the movie is that they do have a little bit of survival instinct of what to do with alligators, in which I just want to know if they're true or not, or if pure fiction. For example, sometimes they kind of treat alligators like they're kind of sharks in a way. Because that shark. I think that that sharks. They say that they usually sense their prey by sensing the vibrations underwater. and they kind of put this knowledge for the alligators. And I want to know if that's true or not. I have to make a kind of like a zoologist investigation about it. Maybe I don't know if I'm correct or not, but I do hear that alligators are nearsighted. I have to confirm later. So that's technically a little bit of a nitpick that I have. And well, it does have a very, very thrilling climax. With and honestly, I think that's all I have to say about this movie. I can't say too much because it's too simple and too basic that for probably older generation they might like, I've seen this movie so many times. But for a new generation, I think this movie works well enough. It is simple. It goes straight to the point. I really like how a lot of the themes, how well produced it is. It's just that I doubt that it's gonna be kind of like the best of the year, at least in my book. But I'm glad that I just saw and have a little bit of some fun with a movie about killer crocodiles in a hurricane. But again, it kind of furthered my opinion, saying that it may in the future, I don't think that I want to live in Florida.